Hi, my name's Paul Grogan, and in this gaming rules video I'm going to be giving you a review of the board game Granja, which was first published in 2014 by Spielworxx and then republished in 2015 by Stronghold Games. First of all, I'm going to be giving you an overview of the rules of the game, then I'm going to be sharing my thoughts on what I liked and what I didn't like about the game itself. Thanks very much to Stronghold Games for providing me with a review copy. In Granja, you and up to 3 other players are developing a small farm on the island of Mallorca. You're going to be growing harvest goods such as grapes and olives, you're going to be breeding pigs, and you're going to be transporting goods to the local village. The game is played over 6 rounds, and there's a variety of ways in scoring victory points. The player with the most victory points at the end of the game is given the title of Granja and wins the game. One of the main mechanics of the game is the card play. You start the game with 4 cards, and you normally play 1 card each round. Now these cards are played to develop your farm, and each card can be played in one of 4 different ways. This is your farm. If you play a card to the left of your farm, it becomes a field which can grow either olives, wheat or grapes. This card, for example, is a wheat field. If you place it to the top of your farm, it represents a market barrow, showing the goods that you need to fill the barrow and the reward that you get for doing so. On the bottom part of your farm, the card becomes a character, giving you a special ability for use during the game. Some of the cards can only be used once per round, as indicated here. And if you play the card to the right of your farm, it becomes a farm extension, giving you various bonuses such as increased hand size, extra deliveries, income and space for storing your pigs. The other thing to explain before going any further are these player markers. Now, these do different things depending on where they are on your farm. So over here, they're harvest goods. This is wheat that's just grown in your field. Over here, they're trade goods. And over here, it represents that you've got a pig. This method for tracking goods with the player markers works really well. I actually think it's much easier than having different counters for different things. In the revenue phase of the round, the dice are rolled and placed by the side of the board next to their corresponding number. The dice indicate the choice of actions that the players will have for that round. In turn order, each player will choose a die and perform the action. Once all players have done 2 actions, there will be 1 die left, and all players then get to do this 1 remaining action. This part is quite clever, and I like the way that the dice are used in the game. It makes for some really interesting choices, and turn order is really important. Most of the actions are fairly self-explanatory. This is gain 1 pig, this is take 2 different harvest goods, and this is take 4 silver. In the transportation phase, you get to send your goods to the village. Based on the donkey tile that you select, you will get to do a number of deliveries, 1 delivery per donkey. Each delivery can either be to transport a good to a barrow in your farm, or to a craft building on the game board. Once you fill a market barrow, you get to place a marker into the market on a space matching the number shown on the card. If I complete this barrow, for example, I can place a marker on a number 4 market stall. When you place a marker into the market, you remove all other player markers from adjacent stalls which are on a lower number. You score victory points equal to the number of the market stall and an extra 1 for each other marker you removed. So placing this marker would score me 5 points. The other option for delivery of goods is to one of the craft buildings. There are 4 rows in each craft building, 1 for each player. Once you fill your row, you score victory points equal to the current round number, and you take 1 of the craft tiles for the building. This has an immediate bonus on it, and then you place it on your farm where it gives you a permanent bonus for the rest of the game. There's a number of things that I really like about this game. First of all, the card play. I never feel in this game that I've drawn the wrong cards because you have 4 choices about the way in which you play each card. So there's always something you want to do with it. Secondly, I do like the dice mechanic. Now, years ago, I wouldn't have played games with dice in them because it was just far too random. Whereas in this game, the mechanism that's used is actually really clever. Like a lot of modern games now, they're using dice in a clever way. I also feel that I'm building up my farm. I mean, I know that's sort of what you're doing in the game, but I actually feel when I'm playing the game that I am developing it and it is getting better. Things are growing in the fields and I'm developing some kind of game engine. There's also many different ways to approach playing the game. You can go heavily into fields, you can do lots of market barrows, concentrate on the craft buildings, etc, etc. Now, during the game, you're probably going to be doing a bit of everything, but it does have the opportunity for you to focus on certain areas. The game is also one where you can plan quite a lot, possibly even 1 or 2 turns ahead. There's a lot of things that you've got to get right, just working together. And sometimes, based on certain situations, the plan that you have, you might have to alter it a little bit. So for example, if you really relied on getting a pig in phase 2 and no ones are rolled, then you're going to have to try and find another way to get a pig for that turn. So you can't plan completely, which is good. You have to react sometimes to what happens. I also really like the rulebook of the game. It was very clear with lots of good examples, and the graphics, the artwork and the graphic design had no problems with whatsoever, and I thought the iconography was very good. On to the things that I didn't like about the game. Now, a couple of times that we've played it, most of the cards in the game are fairly simple and obvious as to what they do and don't need any further clarification. But a couple of the cards, when we were playing, we really couldn't work out what the card actually did. Now, thankfully, the game comes with a nice glossary covering all of the cards. Unfortunately, it didn't help us whatsoever. So the card that made no sense to us at all, in here, there wasn't any further explanation of what it did. So we ended up having to go online during the game to find the answer on Board Game Geek. Now, there's an FAQ being worked on at the moment, but that was a bit of a problem for us, and it's a bit of a... I felt it was an opportunity missed in when they were doing the new edition of the game, is they could have gone through some of the frequently asked questions about certain cards and put them into the new glossary. The other part that we found a bit confusing is where you place a marker once you complete a craft building. You see, at the end of each round, you score 1 victory point for each of your markers in the market. So you want to be able to just look at the board and count them quite easily. However, the rules say that when you complete a craft building, you put a marker onto the grey space next to the building. Now, unfortunately, by doing this, it means that it's harder to easily count the number of markers that you've got in the market, because this looks like it's kind of in the market. This is solved easily by simply not putting a marker in the grey area. You just have to remember that once you've completed a craft building, you can't complete that same building again. This is what we now do when we're playing, and it doesn't cause any problems at all. So if you haven't worked it out by now, I really like this game. I've played it a few times already and I look forward to playing it some more. It's got the right level of depth, heaviness, and the game length is really good. It's probably 90 minutes to 2 hours. It's got some good decision making. I love some of the mechanisms in there, and basically I think it's a great game. So gaming rules approved. Take care and thanks for watching.